it's not our point to understand what would, like, what's the distinction between them or to define them. The point is to understand. The point is to understand how they uh, how they perceive what's above them. Right? I don't know how to even to ask. What?
Yeah, what's bothering you?
Because I'm trying. When I learned about it, I try to grasp, so try to understand. So what are these oases? Like, what are they? Like, how are they different one from another, and so on and so forth. But that's not our goal here.
No. This is a moshel for Olam Habriya. But there is a world, but it's not the real metziut.
So they're only interested to know what's above them, not to mamshich it downward. They themselves are not involved in.
Which is a machshava eventually prepared the way for Rishon Adibur.
But it happens lower down.
Yeah.
Right. So at this level, where we're talking about, the only cognizance there is of what's beyond them.
I wish I understand what bothers you. Wait. Understanding Sechel is not a stand-alone presence. It doesn't have its own feet, its own structure. Sechel is a gilui hanefesh. You understand in Sechel only because you have a living nefesh. And therefore, whenever we try to understand, we try to understand what we understand and sense it from a nefesh perspective, not from a metziut perspective, because there is no metziut. This is true, as we explained yesterday, that all the way down to Asiya, when we act, it's also the nefesh that's acting. Even though it has been translated in a specific act, the hand never can do anything on its own. Zero. It's a piece of bone. Focusing on the Ayin that we have, that the Rebbe is focusing, he explains the principle of chomer rishon. And the beginning of voices, the rishon. We explained yesterday what is the significance of rishon. That is an important, that is worthy of focusing in. If you remember, you said yesterday that the moide ani that gets us out of our slumber and into and out of bed, that is the neshama spirit. Even though immediately after we begin to recognize, oh, really, we have things to do, we better go and start doing them. That's already on the secondary level. The primary level is that which tells us you're alive and get up. Okay. We are on the line on the bottom, 6 lines from the bottom, on non daled. The line sounds the word metziut adayin. This was quite a feat when the Rebbe explains that even though in Olam Habriya, this is not just chomer rishon, but there is actually nivroim there, creatures, individual entities. But these creatures themselves are not a metziut, einam emchinas metziut adayin. They are not in a metziut state, because, like the oises amachshava, they are creatures representing the oir ho'eliki that is there, not representing their own metzius. We spoke a while ago, I think here in the middle here, that speech, the communication that occurs in speech, is between two individual people that are truly individual, truly separate entities. And in order for them to communicate, they have to find what's called a common platform through which they can communicate. They can't communicate directly because neither one of them knows what the other one is thinking. Neither one of them senses the other one's chayus, but because the chayus is contained in them. Although, as we said many times, that a Rebbe said, I saw Rebbe Meir when he said the shir, and therefore I got a special oil. But that is not a concrete message. This is just the oil. But in terms of communicating, there has to be a common platform. And this common platform has to be in the world that they both are present. In other words, in the physical world, there has to be a physical platform. What's a physical platform? Like oisius. Oisius are like stones. And a real physical presence. Then you can structure it and compose words and sentences. But there has to be something tangible. This tangible thing, this is what's transmitted from one to the other. But this tangible entity, so at this level, this is mamash and metzius. That's what a metzius mamash. It is just a presence. A metzius mamash means it is there for its own sake. I am here, not this is the message that I'm carrying. That's what a metzius mamash. The message I'm carrying, this is already the ruach, the chayas. The chayas, it directly cannot be communicated. But because the chayas was mislabish in oisius, that actually can be taken from one to the other. Therefore, through that the chayas is transmitted. But the way the oisius are in machshava, they're not a real presence. This is something which we can confirm from our own experience. When a person thinks a seichel, he does not think the oisius. He thinks, even though it's true oisius, but the focus is on he senses directly on the seichel. The oisius are a means for him to express the seichel, not the seichel is a means for him to create oisius. There's a difference when in speak you create oisius. In thought you're grasping the thought. And therefore the oisius are completely bottled, are not a metziut mamash. They're not standalone oisius. Okay. So when a person subsequently speaks, he's not repeating the oisius that he thought about. He gets completely recreated. Because that in machshava, the oisius do not block off the oisius, reveal the seichel. Therefore, he can still focus on the seichel and now identify the words with which the seichel can be expressed. Like a mashal, for example. Does a person explain to himself a seichel with a mashal? Is this how you conceptualize a seichel? You conceptualize a seichel directly. The mashal is if you need to transmit it. Why is a mashal? Because a mashal, this is a common reference. All right.
What's meant the adayin exactly?
Adayin means yet, as yet. Metziut adayin. Oilam ha'tzira. Okay, we're starting right there. Oilam ha'tzira, and then there is a next world. It's called oilam ha'tzira. Yitzira means. Okay, let's go try to fit it into the words. Bria means a creation. A creation. It's a bria, just a creation. As we said, this is like the chomer rishon. There's something there. It's not Ayin v'yefes. Yitzira is already comes also tzir, surah. It has a form. That's a next stage. Elam ha'yitzira hu kemoshel hadibur. This is comparable as in a moshel would be the dibur, like speech. Sheho'oisius heim murgoshim al hazulos, where the oisius are actually sensed to zulos, to not the outside, to someone else. Why are the oisius murgoshim? Because it came down in concrete oisius. Pegam ha'oir metzumtzom, and the oir that is carried in the oisius is also metzumtzom, is contracted, limited. She'ef sharli his galois. It's so metzumtzom that allows it to be misgal. The oil is metzumtzom she'ef sharli his galois. What does the tzimtzum have to do with actually his galus? So, the principle to illustrate this point I'll take a very simple, very broad motion. You know that all of these houses are built on ground, and this ground was here from time immemorial, from the beginning of time. When people first encountered this ground, it was a wilderness. It was a wilderness to the extent where you couldn't even tell, how would an urban development fit into here? Here's the mountains, and here's water. How will it fit? All you see is open space in a wilderness, overgrown brush and so on. So there, although clearly, in essence, this ground carries the capability of holding an urban development of houses and streets and courtyards and businesses, everything. But it's impossible to identify anything. Why? Because you're looking at a total reality, not at something metzumtzum, something finite. If you then don't look at the entire countryside. You take cordon off a certain area. Say, okay, let's see what we can do over here. There, you can already focus in and say, over here we can do this, over here we can do this. And you have what's called urban planning. Urban planning is, you have a wilderness, but you planned out where the streets are going to be. There it's possible already. Why? Because you're focusing in on the moken metziut. You don't go from sea to shining sea. Go and make urban planning from California to New York. It's impossible. But if you cordon off a little area, then it's possible. And then actually he's got it. Then you could say, yes, this is suitable for this is suitable for this. This is the pshat that it's oiris metzumtzum. She'efshel his galis, that it's possible to identify and be megala certain principles in this oir. This is what happens in Dibur. Dibur does not present the infinite oir. It presents the oir in a finite manner, she'efshel his galas, that it's possible to express.
What's the principle by if you narrow the land, that you limit to the amount of land that now you could reveal what's...
Okay, let's focus in together. The land, before you narrow it, is part of the globe, part of the infinite reality. It's not land as you conceptualize it. It's not land that you conceptualize, therefore you can't even begin to see what is in there. It's not a Sechel land that you can conceptualize in your Sechel. What's the matter?
No, it makes sense.
What?
If the Ayin is mitzad l'maylo, it can't be.
Yeah, this is why you can't even conceptualize it. You can't grasp it. You can't get a handle on it. What is this? Where do I stop? Where does it begin? Take you a step further. The world is the Meibishna's creation. God creation. It represents a godly truth and a godly supremacy. There are no limits inherent. Or it's not an livnei odom. He gave it to human beings, and he said, human beings, you humanize it. You create cities and states. The world doesn't in itself demand these limits. We perceive it as, I can walk on it indefinitely. This is the tzimtzum. Tzimtzum means that I can conceptualize, I can now focus in and say, here's what I have. Remember we spoke about a home. All the in the Beis in the Yod. A home is what makes a human being. But it has to be something that the human being can relate to. If you give a private home, a personal home, the Empire State Building, you have given him nothing. You can relate to it. This is not a home. Why not? It doesn't provide for a home. It provides open space. It's not identifiable. He actually is Gauss. You start walking to the Empire State Building and say, okay, where is going to be my bedroom? Come on, ask me an easier question. This is Pshat Dibur, the oil is mitzamtzem. The oil is mitzamtzem means that the oil has a focus. Empire State Building is just space. A home is a focus. It's a home for a human being. Now, actually, he's Gauss. Remember, the Rebbe spoke about that. I mentioned many times how he used. He was a multi-billionaire. He could not focus in what life is, what a human being is. He was all over the place. He didn't live a day like a human being. He lived in infinity. Kach oilam ha'yitzira. Dasli is oilam ha'yitzira. Hanivroim, the shom, the nivroim there, hem murgoshim b'metziut. They are felt b'metziut. They are actually nivroim with a definitive presence. The ha'oyer, the shom, and therefore the oil that is there, metzumtzum, is contracted ba'oifen Shehu b'bchinas gilui. In tzumtzum, in a manner that is b'bchinas gilui, and the oil is b'bchinas gilui. We have to, as I'm saying, v'ha'oyer d'shom. What do you mean by oyer in this context? I hope I can finish this thought. Oyer Shom hu b'chinas tzimtzum, hu metzumtzum. Like we just finished saying, that a home is not four walls and a roof and a floor. A home has a message, a human message. And everything that's in the home is constantly representing this human message. the human message is not the human comfort, that he needs shelter and all that. No, the human message is the human presence in the world, the human reality. What does human being stand for? What is his place in the world? Why does he have a home? This is called oir. This is the neshama element. It's a life element of this home. This oir really is bli gvul in itself because it represents the neshama. Nevertheless, the oir is metzumtzum. The oir is already metzumtzum. Yes, this is a living neshama, but it has a mission. That's oir metzumtzum. If you can't focus on the mission, like Lahabdul, Harvard Hughes, he's all over the place. And there's no human being there. Human being was created, they were just you have a mission, a human mission. That's the oil, the show. Even though it comes also from a higher, so from a higher oil, from oil leki, which is limited. But at this point, it has been contracted, limited. So that's why he says even the oil desham is metzumtzum, and that's why it is possible to express it. So actually, he's godless. This is not just chomer poshut. This is a world. The oil itself is bibchinas gilui, even though it's oil eliki, oil hanefesh, but it has a gilui. What is the oil? It's a human oil. I have a function. I'm not here just to enjoy and to experience the presence. I'm here to follow through and to develop it. Das ist b'chinas gilui. Mesholim are not necessary for this because we're all too familiar with this. This is it, I think. All right. Have a great day. Tonight in Mitzvah.